As a textile student, one thing I've learned is that the most sustainable way to shop for apparel is not to shop for apparel. That's a hard truth to face, and quite frankly, it's a bit of a bummer. As consumers, there's nothing quite like seeing something you love online and having it in your hands, ready to wear by the end of the week. But that same feeling is often what drives the overconsumption of apparel in our society. At the same time, as humans, so much of our identity is quite literally wrapped in our clothes. So, how can we shop sustainably for apparel, and why should we? For my dissertation, I wanted to explore some of the motives and barriers that drive sustainable apparel consumption among Gen Z consumers aged 18 to 26. I hosted focus groups to better understand the attributes that these consumers define as sustainable and how they prioritize them when they're making shopping decisions. Previous literature tells us that there's a pretty significant attitude-behavior gap among this generation, whereby they have a really positive attitude towards sustainable shopping and they understand why it's important, but when it comes time for them to actually purchase garments, they're shopping fast fashion. Fast fashion brands are significantly less sustainable, but they are also less expensive, which makes them more accessible for a group of consumers that may not have a lot of disposable income. The problem is that when companies like Forever 21 are making apparel, they don't intend for it to last you beyond a season or two, and they manufacture accordingly. Their goal is to cut costs, which means they cut corners, using cheap materials, inefficient processes, and in the most extreme cases, child or trafficked labor. That's why a lot of the consumers that I spoke with expressed real feelings of guilt and shame about shopping fast fashion, but as you can see, our options for inexpensive, sustainable apparel are pretty much non-existent. Many of these consumers are turning to thrifting because it bridges the gap really nicely between sustainability and affordability in our apparel. So, if this is a group of consumers that's always hoping to prioritize sustainability, will they always buy the products that are marketed to them as, quote, sustainable? I asked them that question and was met with a resounding no. These consumers are tired of buzzwords, and instead they are looking for specific, actionable information from companies about what they're doing that makes them sustainable, which sets us up really nicely for future research on what it might look like to close that attitude-behavior gap if the attributes these consumers are looking for were found in products they could actually afford. If the most sustainable way to shop for apparel is not to, the second most sustainable way is to shop with intention. As consumers, we hold the power, which means that when we prioritize attributes like eco-consciousness, charitable contributions, and the ethical treatment of workers alongside the cost and durability of our garments, we push companies to meet us here and better themselves in the process. Thank you.